How often do they have to fill that out?
I think that is twice, 3 times a year. Thank you. For DESA. And South Pulse, I think, is twice.
And are the teachers trained on how to fill these out? Do they have to attend training or follow a guidebook, or is it simple enough to where they don't have to do that?
I think it's simple enough. Don't you agree? Yeah, it's pretty basic.
There are online resources for the teachers if they need it, but it's very simple.
Did you hear that? He said there are online resources for the teachers, but it's really pretty simple.
Do we see an increase in kids that are needing, are the guidance counselors seeing an increase? And then how do we know what programs then are the other, I guess, looking further down the list, are the programs that we put the kids into?
No. The guidance counselors do that on their own. They create that themselves. They use their expertise to do that. We don't use a program with those kids. So some of those kids get independent counseling with the counselor, and some of them they put like in a friendship group, a making friends group, or that type of a thing. And again, that's all done with parent permission. Okay, responsive classroom, I don't really consider it to be so much SEL, but responsive classroom is they have a morning meeting where they greet one another. It's really very sweet, very cute. I would encourage you to come and see it sometime. They greet one another. They just, they might have a little activity that they do together. It's really designed to build community so that the kids feel like they belong to a class, a family. And it's a way for them to get to know their students and foster belonging.
So that's outside of the curriculum development. I mean, it's not part of the curriculum umbrella.
It's part of the routine. It's a classroom routine. It's not really a curriculum. It's just a routine that they do. And they have some little games and activities that they can play. It's sort of like, reminds me of circle time. If you think about circle time. At the middle school, it's a little bit different. If you want some details on that, I can ask Tuesday if you want to know what that looks like in the middle school.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Sanford Harmony is a free program that we use. It's once a week at the elementary level, and it teaches those things that I just named, everything that I described for you. The self-awareness, the self-management, social awareness, and relationship skills. And how long does that all year, elementary principals or Sanford Harmony, how long does that last?
It's almost all week.
Almost all the year, yeah.
They do it once a week.
Once a week for about an hour a day. Okay.
All of the students?
Yes.
In K through 5?
Yes. Okay. Habitudes is lessons for grades 6 to 12. In the middle school, it's delivered by teachers, and in the high school, it's delivered by students. And you can see that that is described as a leadership development curriculum that teaches young adults valuable perspectives and leadership habits. So it teaches them to take initiative and set the pace. I don't want to read this out loud to you, but those are the things that are taught in Habitudes.
Do they get trained, the teachers, in Habitudes?
I believe they did at first, right, when it was first implemented? Yeah. So these were all implemented before I got here, so I have to defer to some of my principals for these questions.
So for that one, is that we renew that every year, for example? No.
No. Actually, it is, yes. It would be, last year it cost $35,000. 3,500. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Yes.
We knew what you meant.
Sorry. And again, that started out in the social workers budget. It was then moved to the building budget. I moved it to the grant because that's exactly what this grant is for. So again, it's being paid for by the grant. Now.
So when a new teacher comes on board, are they then like when we subscribe to this every year? Is that training? You might have caught onto a common thread here. I want to make sure we're not investing in these programs or curriculum and our teachers aren't consistently trained, reminded, followed up with, gotten their opinions. So I just so we keep doing this, and if it's good, are our teachers getting trained, our new teachers, the teachers that have been using it, I just want to make sure that's being done.
Yeah.
So our mentors, when a new teacher comes on, they're given a mentor, and the mentors train them in things. I could say
Okay.
that is an area we can continue to work on, as well. Just
Thank
like
you for
across-
acknowledging that.
across
That's,
the district.
okay.
Yeah, okay, so just to repeat that so everybody could hear it, all of our new teachers are assigned a mentor, and that's part of the mentor's responsibility, is to make sure that they know what to do and how to do it. So we can certainly add that to teacher induction if we needed to for new teachers, and when we do the onboarding at the beginning of the year. So that's an easy thing to do. And then, of course, PBIS, the only thing that we purchase for PBIS is the app, and I believe there is going to be a presentation for you, I think, in the next month or two. I'm not sure when that's signed up for, so you will get that presentation.
Is that K through 12, PBIS?
It is. Yep. SAP is the Student Assistance Program. Basically, I'll share with you what happens. We have a SAP counselor that comes, and when we have our student success meetings or our student concern meetings, teachers will bring a concern of a student to the table. That SAP counselor might meet with that student with parent permission, and then the SAP counselor basically works with the parent to kind of get them the help that they need. So they act as sort of a liaison between the school and the home and work with the parent to help them out. They can also provide some counseling in the school. That's individual students, and they have to get parent permission to even speak to the child. Okay. We currently have a drug and alcohol counselor that is free. The mental health counselor is not free, but I did get a grant to be able to have the mental health counselor here as well. That's separate from this ESSERS grant. Another grant that had to be used on mental health, so couldn't use it on anything else. And PCBH is school-based therapy for families that, for whatever reason, have a barrier to getting their child therapy outside of the school. This counselor comes into the school and provides one-on-one therapy, again, completely with parent permission. Check and Connect is something that was started with our former social worker, that Kirsten Johnson, and now that we have a new social worker, she is picking that ball back up. Now you can imagine that one social worker for the entire district, she's got a lot on a plate, so she is working on that. Basically what that is teachers were trained, so we paid for the training for the teachers, and the teachers volunteered to be sort of a mentor to kids who are at risk for any reason. It could be even academically at risk, and the student meets with that teacher for a check-in. So they do check-ins. That's where the Check and Connect is. So it's just assigning kids an adult that can be their person, kind of, and those teachers are trained to do that. So we have been doing it, and we're in the process of trying to get some more teachers on board.
Rena, I'm sorry. Could we back up once to the PCBH? Just a quick question there related to that.
Sure.
How do the parents become aware of this? Is this something that the guidance counselor that is working with that child then is meeting with the parent and encouraging them to take advantage of this opportunity? Is that how that operates?
It's through a referral, yes. Okay. So we would contact the parent, and it's often for maybe they don't have insurance, the right insurance to be able to get therapy outside. So for a variety of reasons, we're bringing the therapy into the school.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes they just can't get transportation. Sometimes they just don't have a way to get there. So we bring it to them.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Hope Squad, we are just getting started with Hope Squad. The adults have been trained, and we are looking to, this is the suicide prevention that we did approve not too long ago, in the last couple of months. So again, Kirsten Johnson was kind of in charge of that. Now Amelia Warrants is taking over, so we're going to need to give her a little bit of time to get that rolling. But we are hoping to work that out with the Avidum group. And the Avidum group Avidum means, I think it means we've got your back, right? Something like that. So we're going to start training the students. But I don't have any data about the success of that program yet because we're just getting the ball rolling. Care Solace is another service that can hook parents up with outside resources. It's that simple. They have a person on their end that will work with the parent to find out what resources are available for them and get them hooked up with those resources. The success of that program is 100% dependent on the follow-through of the adult. Some adults follow through and some adults don't. So, but that's what that program does. Any questions about any of these?
Are you evaluating any additional programs for the upcoming school year, or are you evaluating any of these for no longer using them? Or are we planning on keeping these all intact for the next school year?
Yes, because we are keeping them intact for the next school year because we have paid for them through the grant through the next school year.
Okay.
Once the grant runs out, that's when we're really going to have to take a look at
Okay.
how, are we keeping them? How will we pay for them once we don't have that grant money anymore?
Do you foresee adding anything else? And would, I don't know, when I was in school, we had assemblies. Do we still have assemblies?
Yes, we do.
It was like there were campaigns, just say no to drugs. Like, do we talk about vaping, drug abuse, pill abuse? I don't see that in here.
Those
Which one would that fall
aren't
under?
programs, those are just assemblies, and
Okay.
more often than not, they don't cost any money. And so, yes, we've done assemblies on vaping and that type of a thing at the middle school. I know you did a vaping assembly, right?
Well, that was part of some rules that we delivered and talked about, some awareness for the students, yes.
Yeah.
But if you're asking if we bring outside folks in to do assemblies, we
Yeah.
have not done so at the middle school since I've been the principal, but I believe maybe the high school has.
We tried once for vaping. Students were 10 times ahead of where the presenters were, and it was a big joke.
Really?
Quite honestly, it did not go over well. To really get the presenters in, I think that what you were talking about are big bucks.
Yeah.
To get people to come in to present, your motivational speakers, your campaigns, your type of things like that, they can be anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000.
Oh, they can be more than that, and they often charge us for travel and lodging as well, those types of speakers. Some of them are in the tens of thousands, $25,000.
Well, I know there's some nonprofits that are popping up over here over the last couple of years for drug related, getting into schools to address that. And then I think the middle school's a great place to start, but then rolling that out too with art projects and posters and, I'm just not seeing that in
Yeah.
here. So,
Well, and again, we transition social workers, right? That would be the person that I would rely on to find out who those people are.
Yes.
So that's something that I can easily work with her on to try to bring
yeah,
in.
yeah, that would be good. I mean,
Yeah.
Just one thing. At the middle school, if we have a student with a vape, it is required that they attend a drug course. It's 6 to 8 weeks long, and it's free through our staff referral.
So she said that if we find a vape on an individual student, then they're required to go through what did you call it?
It's a drug course.
A drug course. Yeah.
Yeah, just to inform them.
That type of thing, exactly what
Okay.
you're talking about.
so it just seems like these are very individualized approaches. So it would just be nice to see what, what is our overall for educating the entire student body at once, and then
Sure.
maybe rolling that into, like I said, art, or, how we can just follow up on that, just
Sure.
brand it, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure, I can get the guidance counselors and the social worker together, and we can brainstorm that.
thanks.
Not a problem.
So I was just curious about what she stated about that course. Where did they have the course held?
They come to the school and hold sessions with the students.
They come to the school and hold session with the students.
What about at the high school level? Do we have anything like that at the high school level?
For the vaping, no, we don't. We can have a cessation program that we can tell them if they're caught with it with THC, then they are automatically referred and have to follow the student assistance program for a drug and alcohol assessment.
So did you catch that? When I mentioned the SAP counselor, the drug and alcohol counselor, when they're caught with THC, then they're automatically referred to this service through the drug and alcohol counselor. Does that make sense?
They're referred but not required to go?
Yeah,
They're
they're required, yes, to see the drug and alcohol counselor. Now, again, long-term, that depends on the adult to follow through. The adult in their life has to follow through.
Thanks, Rena.
Sure.
Okay, anything else on 602? 603?
So I did want to pull this out because I think that we just need, I know we've been talking about this for months and months and months, but I don't think I have enough information really. I really would like to see if there's any outstanding invoices currently and who they're made out to, you know, who's responsible for paying that invoice and if it hasn't been paid. And then I would like to see, you know, what some of our youth programs, like what have they used the facility in the past and how has this policy impacted? Do we know that? Like how this new policy is impacting some of our outside organizations that are maybe part of Dover but not part of Dover School District? Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm asking? No? Yes?
The policy actually has been in effect for a while. It's not new. The 707 policy's been for the way it sits now. Am I correct in saying that?
A year and a half.
A year and a half.
Year and a half. So it's not a new policy. It's been there.
I've been on the board for a year, so
Okay.
it was enacted like right before I
Okay.
got on the board and like right after COVID. So
Okay.
I don't think that we've seen the impact of it till now, and that's why it's like an issue, you
Okay.
know, because
Yeah, but it has been in effect and it's being followed now the way it's written. It's very, very clear. Every group that is listed has its own category.
It is
So
very
yeah, it's
clear,
very
yes,
clear.
it's
There's
very
there's
clear.
no
No.
gray area at all.
Yeah.
So
It's
currently that's
5
what we
pages
follow.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So but 5 pages needs to be there. In all honesty, because
it?
every group that we lead, that we rent to or comes in to use our facilities is part of one of those groupings. So there's no question on where you fall. Like, and everything is actually listed right there. So the fees that are going to be, you know, asked of to rent the facility are very clear
Okay.
and precise.
Okay, cool. So we've been using it for a year and a half. So yeah, those invoices, I'd like to see what those invoices are, how we've been invoicing the community. Can we
Yep.
get all of those invoices?
Yep.
How, like the invoices that we've sent out to the community for using our facility over the last year and a half?
That would be a question that would come out of accounting. Am I correct in that?
It might be a,
We can give you, I'm sure we can give you a list.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can go back and show you.
We can give you a
what.
list.
Yeah, we can.
Because I might be fighting for something for no reason.
And
You know,
if
and I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know what that is. Like,
Right.
what is, and really, it's the monetary impact.
Right.
You know, on us as a school district
Yes.
and our community organizations.
Right.
So, like, I could see those invoices and see that and be like, why have I
Right.
been making a big deal about this?
I think,
you
Doctor,
know?
yeah, I think that, you know,
Like, right now, I'm standing on principle, but
Right.
I need to look at the numbers and see, you know.
Right.
I sent some numbers a couple of weeks ago, just 2 groups.
Okay,
We
right.
could do that for a few more groups to
Right.
show
Oh, absolutely.
how they're using it.
right. Yep. Yeah, we can do that. That's no problem at all. We can go back and show you what we've, you know, basically invoiced them for.
Yeah. I ran some DAC numbers just very generically, and I came up with, under the new policy, they might be billed like 55,000 for the year, like based
Okay.
on, but I don't know. I could be way off. I mean, but if they've used the facility now for a solid year,
Mm-hmm.
so what were they invoiced? Like, how was that broken down?
I have those numbers. I sent
Yeah.
those to you a couple of weeks ago, and they're nowhere near 55,000.
No.
Yeah, so
No.
I'm not sure
we can-
where, did we
we'll-
just not
I'll
invoice them
resend that,
appropriately?
and we'll add some groups. They're not charged when the building's open.
Right.
Okay,
So weekdays, weekday evenings
Yeah.
during the
thought
school
I
year,
figured
when
all
there's a
that in.
custodian on duty,
okay.
they're not charged, correct?
That is correct,
I
yes.
don't wanna say something
Yeah,
that's
for
not
for
wrong.
custodial
I mean, that's
yeah,
not-
for custodial services, if there's a custodian there, when, you know, like, example, second shift, when they would practice after, you know, after school time, yeah, they are not charged for the custodial services because the custodian is already there.
Okay. I'm not discounting that you sent that. I looked at it, but it just didn't make sense.
We'll make it make sense.
Okay.
We'll fix that.
Thank you. So the lease that that didn't make sense to them, basically is what you're saying. They would have had to pay more through that. So that just wasn't a good solution. Well, I appreciate everybody putting so much time and effort into it.
I will say in regards to the lease, I think the only way they would ever consider the lease is if that would allow them the summer hours they're looking to have. Because right now, that's still an issue for them.
Right. I think that's kind of where my numbers came from, and I wasn't making sense of that. Because of summer hours.
I don't know if I'm overstepping, but we had a really good meeting with them, and I think that, we would want to hear that from them directly, not from other aspects.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I'm
But
sorry, I don't understand.
we had a meeting with
Yeah,
DAC,
yeah.
and I think that if there's any discussion going forward with it,
Right.
it would be directly with them. I don't think it would be in this forum. I think it would be a meeting with them to work things out with them.
So I'm going to read to you from Ross.
I see what you're,
Ross,
that's the impression I got from what you had said, like the lease wasn't a good fit for them. Okay, I got you. I understand what you're saying
Okay.
now. I made it.
Right, and I was just saying that I think,
Okay.
moving forward with discussions, the discussions would be directly with them, not in this forum,
Yeah.
if that would be okay. Because,
And so our current board policy allows the board to move an organization from one group to another. So maybe move them from a D to a C or something. So we have
right.
that option as well, if like,
that would be an option, but I think the grouping that they're in is where they belong. Because there's other groups that are just like them, and they're all in that
oh, I
same group.
know, yeah, basketball,
So,
wrestling.
and I don't think that that would be fair to the other groups if we're moving one particular group. I think that those groups that are in that grouping now,
Yeah.
I think is very fair, and I think that's what
Yeah,
what we want.
Right.
I don't think that would be a good option because the groups in there do exactly what they do, just a different sport.
Yeah, it would be a Band-Aid, for sure.
I don't think it would be a Band-Aid, I just don't think it's a good
I mean,
idea.
like moving something,
Yeah.
it would be, like, it would solve their problem, but it wouldn't solve,
I
like,
think solving a problem for one doesn't help the other people in that
that's
group.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep, thank you.
I want to weigh in too. In regards to what he said about hearing it straight from Ross, this is from Ross. As far as the lease goes, DAC did meet with Weaver and Fluke 2 weeks ago, and were able to discuss that we do not feel the lease agreement is necessary unless that is the only option for us to have additional access for programs. That is that is kind of what started the discussion of the lease agreement, being told that we could only have summer evening access if we entered a lease. So that is their priority right now, is to figure out their summer hours.
Right, and I agree, but I think that discussions with them directly, not through this forum, is the correct way. I think we made really good headway, and had really good thoughts from both sides on it. I just don't think this is the forum. We wouldn't bring Dover basketball, youth basketball, into this forum like this. We wouldn't bring Dover Diamonds into this forum. I think that the way that we are approaching it now is the correct way to do it. I don't think that this is the stage for that.
Well, I think that this discussion is important for the board to hear how the policy is affecting a youth organization.
Right, I agree. I agree with it, but you have to be fair to everybody. If we're going to talk about one organization, we should bring them all in.
We should have everybody here and
But
find
the
out
only
what their
one,
financials
the
are.
only one right now that's having an issue is DAC.
That's not
Well,
true.
I started out I started this whole thing out by saying it is impacting all of our
Right.
youth sports organizations. And we've had a couple here prior to you starting to work for the district. We have had other, and I get emails from coaches and, so it is impacting other sports.
Okay.
It's just that it's, as Dave had mentioned previously, it's really impacting DAC because they don't have anywhere else to go. Like
Right.
our youth wrestling, our youth wrestling used to practice at a district facility.
They still
Now-
do.
Now they go to the community center.
They still
for
practice at the middle
example.
school.
Well, they go to the community center as well. So they might use a little bit, whatever they
Okay.
can afford to pay, or I don't know,
Right.
but I heard that right from
Okay.
leadership in
Right.
the youth wrestling program.
I can tell you that Dover Youth Wrestling just used our middle school for one of their major events. I saw all the paperwork that
Okay.
came through. I'm not discounting what we're saying, but I think you have to give every youth sport the rules
I totally
and be
agree.
fair to all of them.
And we want to look at the policy, and that's why I'm saying, like, I'd like to see how it's impacted. But with all due respect, I don't think you're giving a fairness to the timeline. You're saying that the policy is not new, and really, in the scheme of things, it really took a whole year of season. Sports only have a certain season, so we don't know what spring sports did until spring comes, and it might be a year later. And people are afraid to speak up. So it might be, they did it one season and it was okay, but now the second season has rolled around. So, you know, we just have to acknowledge those, you know.
Right, and the
what we're
policy
hearing.
was, I think, 2021, when that policy, the last one, is that correct, Dr. Cartwright? When that one came out, was approved?
I misspoke earlier. The policy itself was approved on May 18th, 2021. We continued to work that whole summer on the ARs. So they weren't finalized probably until July or August 2021.
Okay.
Can I
My,
ask
my
the-
main,
Go ahead.
my main goal was just to keep all of it fair. I don't want to.
I totally agree.
I think that's the
1000%.
best
Yeah.
thing for the district is
Yeah.
to, you know, we're stewards of the district.
Right.
As district employees, it's our job to look out for the best interest of the district, but also make sure that everybody in the community is treated fairly when it comes to youth sports organizations, that everybody gets the same fair shake.
I'd be interested in hearing from Mr. Emig and Mr. Rawhauser and Mr. Deschaux. They were part of the facilities committee when all of this was discussed and this policy was developed. So I quite frankly would just be interested in some background information as to how this all evolved within the facilities committee, how you came to the determinations that you came to on the policy at that time, what kind of research was done, you know, how were the comparisons made, things like that. So I'd just be interested in hearing from those that were on that committee at that time that maybe gives us some history and some background on this policy.
Okay, we worked in this over a year. We got information from other school districts, and we came up with this formula, and there was seemed to be any objections. We had, like you said, the three of us were on, there was administrators on, and everything seemed to work all right. And now all of a sudden it seems to be a problem, and information I got from some people that know what's going on said that they're not getting any complaints. So more than that, I don't know. But we worked in that over a year, gathering information, and we put this together. It was it was three on the committee because we were on the buildings and grounds then. And that's basically it. We got information and tried to compare with other school districts, and our figures were lower than some of the other ones. And I was told that probably for like the swimming thing, the fee should be higher because of all the expense of running the pool now. So I don't know what the answer is, because you can't please everybody. But the report I got is everybody seems to be satisfied except one group.
That's not true. That's not true. There's other groups that I have spoken to face, and they are not pleased either with the policy, and it's hurting where they're able to practice and you know.
I know when we had our committee meetings, we had several community members there, pretty much every meeting. It was, sometimes we had a big room full. So I know there was community members input in there. As for you getting all of the emails, I would tell them to direct their comments to the administration so the proper people could be helping them. But as for the decision, I know we asked Troy for a bunch of all kinds of other fees from other schools. I know we got lots of input, just like with the examples that are in the folder. We based it off of those examples and the fact that everything, especially at the high school, was brand new. So.
Did you guys look at the fee structure and how it would, so before, did we charge outside youth sports organizations, did we charge them before at all, anything?
I wouldn't know.
I believe we did,
We did,
and we increased the rates.
we
Okay.
increased the rates to keep up with the expense.
Kelly, can you send that previous policy? Would you still have access to that?
Yes, we have
Okay.
access to retired.
Okay,
ARs.
yeah.
And
I just
retired
would like to see
policies.
the impact, you know, are we costing our youth sports organizations all of a sudden, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars? Or is it not? Like I said, I could be arguing for no reason, like when it comes down to the financial part. So I'd really like the financial information on that. And I might just give up, like, honestly. Like, I'm just tired of arguing about it and disagreeing and, you know, told to think one way or another. And I'm extremely passionate about youth sports. I am as passionate about youth sports as I am about our curriculum, just to make that clear to everybody. Rena did a great job. I think we're on track with that. I don't think we're on track with this. So, equally important as a board member, curriculum and youth sports. But I owe youth sports the person I am today. My coaches, you know, my teammates, and so it's a passion of mine, and I want to fight for our youth sports organizations and coaches and stuff. So
I have a question in regards to how these lists, these groupings were determined, like all the different organizations that were put in each category. How did you guys come up with those organizations? Did you guys as board members decide who the organizations were going to be in each grouping?
If I remember correctly, that list is based off of which groups were already using the facilities.
I believe that's what it was, and I think the way I think there's a scale in it that's like A, B, C, or D, and then they took the groups that used the fields and placed them in those groups. So Dave Nelson had most of that.
Dr. Weisland, do you have any insight or remember?
I agree with Dr. Cartwright's account of that. I believe that list was pulled from previously leased facilities from prior years. Mr. Ulmer had access to that, and that's how he generated that list based on previous groups who've used those.
Well, Mr. Nelson was still here that summer, and he was responsible for the FMX system that Mr. Fluke now handles. So he got all the requests and handled all the facilities usage. So it was many heads working together on that.
I'd be interested to know if board members, you know, like let's say our youth basketball program used to use our facilities, you know, and paid this much, and now under this new policy they paid this much. I don't know. They could have paid $1,000 and now they pay $1,000. They could have paid $1,000 and now they would have to pay $10,000. I don't know what that difference is, but I'd be curious to hear from board members if it is like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of difference. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But if it is, maybe that would make a bigger difference into seeing the importance of allowing our youth sports organizations to use our district facilities. I mean,
We can gather some numbers for you.
Okay.
Well, since you're dealing with those groups, what were they paying and what are they paying now? They can tell you.
I don't know. Well,
Then we can have, that'll
They have been
narrow down
asked.
the discussion.
They have been asked to bring their financials in and
Yeah.
to share.
You know, if they were
Well-
paying $50 and now they're paying $75, because we didn't
Well-
raise it up that much.
to Dennis's point, I try not to get too far into the weeds when people approach me with concerns, and I try not to, because that's what we're guided to do. So we can hear and we can give them advice on the next steps to take. And so trying to get information out of them like that, I don't know that I'm that comfortable, you know, every time a community member comes to me or a parent comes to me going into detailed information. So that's why I don't have that information for you. And I think as a district, our accounting department should be able to provide that information. This is how much we've invoiced in the past. This is how much we're invoicing now. I think we, as a board member, I should be able to get that from the district. I shouldn't have to ask that person. You know, you're telling me to ask detailed questions. He's telling me not to.
So I think everybody in their packet has this example from another school district, and I feel like this could be a big help to us to figure this problem out. They have 3 categories versus our 5, and they've broken it down into the things that are closely related to the school and its system, including nonprofits, as category 1, and then also then category 2, out, like within the school district groups, like civic groups, but then category 3 is outside groups. And, if your issue is liability, then if you look at policy 700, it says right here on the very first paragraph of purpose, the board may make school facilities available to individuals and community groups without discrimination and in accordance with this policy, provided the use does not interfere with the educational programs of the school. So when you head down to the next section under authority, it says the use of the buildings and grounds shall not interfere with the best interests of the school system, the staff, and the students. And that is a subjective statement. And we just said we can't discriminate. And now on to guidelines, the application evaluation, a group that we don't want here could come in and meet all those qualifications based on the application evaluation if we're non-discriminatory. So the liability, I think we got to throw that out completely as far as trying to keep groups out that we don't want here. And this pages and pages of groups and or organizations and what group they fall under, to me, that I look at that and I go, that's a little bit excessive and controlling, that we would list everybody who's allowed in this group. So I think we can generalize it, and that would seem more welcoming, I think, to the organizations that are having a struggle that relate to our children, our students in the realm of sports, and any organization that would equip them and better them as people.
And our parents and future coaches.
Okay, we discussed this last month. My suggestion is we see what information we can find out till next week, what's on record, who pays what, who didn't pay, and then go from there, because we're just throwing things back and forth and we're not getting anything accomplished.
Anything else on 603?
Well, in regards to the facility, I do want to speak on one issue, and that is summer hours. And this is not just related to DAC, but this is any organization, because we call our school closed down after a certain time, but yet I know that teachers in the district are allowed to utilize open gym time throughout the summer when they request it. So I think if we're going to have the building open for interscholastic sports at certain times when it's requested, I don't see why we can't have it open for the sports, youth sports. Not to mention Ross is, as far as DAC goes, Ross is a teacher. I'm done.
Anybody else? Okay. Move on to our miscellaneous period, then any other comments or observations from our board members tonight?
Yeah. Mr. Pratt, I asked you first meeting in January if you could give me the state law that says that school board members are not allowed to review the evaluations of teachers. Do you have that?
I believe I provided that information to Dr. Cartwright already.
Okay, because I haven't received it. Next question. I'd like a copy. I haven't received any information concerning the theft in the cafeteria at the middle school. Has that been reported to the police?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Cartwright, I asked you for a copy of the reviewer's schedule, who reviews who in the administrative division, and who rates who reviews who, is what it amounts to. Do you have that? Did I miss it?
I'm looking up the email in which I sent that, so I can tell you what date I sent it.
Oh, thank you.
I have it filed.
Okay.
While I'm looking, Mr. Pratt, I'm going to need that list because I don't remember it.
Okay.
And I'm not
Send it
sure,
again.
I'm not sure I have it.
I'll send it again.
Thank you. Of course, with an audience, I'm not finding it.
Okay, that's-
But I
that's-
will, and I know I sent it right after you asked for it.
Okay.
Because I send something every Friday.